Powerlessness. You see a few notes there about being powerless, or another word for being powerless is no control. Well, in the previous sessions we've found out why we can't control our drinking, and because of the physical effects of alcohol on our bodies, which leads to the phenomenon of craving, and leads to our inability to control our lives, because our lives become unmanageable once we start drinking. So that leads us to the conclusion that we're also powerless over people, places and things. So we lack control. The first thing we need to find out is control of ourselves. In these notes, it says, you know, we're running our life on self-will and repeating the same behaviour time and time again, and we're waking up with that sick feeling in the pit of our stomach thinking, why did I say that, why did I do that? And then before we know it, we're waking with that same feeling again and again, and running on our own will is clearly not working for us, and maybe it's time for something else.
Now that free will, that used to, like, you know, I mean, that's, to me, was, well, if you like, they say it's God-given, we've got free will, that's like a human being, we've got free will. So somebody telling me that my own free will was damaging me, I didn't quite like that. It didn't go with the fact that I had a high ego, you know, my ego, because I didn't understand that. I thought it was good to be egotistic, quite honestly, you know, having an ego, and you know, to be powerless and to have to surrender my own self-will, which was the sort of talk I was hearing, especially when I went into AA rooms and started reading literature around this. Didn't feel very comfortable with it, to be honest. It didn't make much sense to me. So I want you to kind of, you know, think, when we're saying things like this, powerlessness, hopelessness, your own free will, you know, what do you think about when we're saying that? And how do you, like, how does it affect you emotionally? Remember, I'm talking about separating, I feel this, I feel that. Just at this very moment, as you read those things, you know, how often do you feel powerlessness, hopelessness? And even thinking those things, can you now identify maybe a thought, an effect, an emotional effect that will maybe start those palpitations and that fear that are actually what they call somatic? You don't have to go to the doctor, you're not really probably having a panic attack unless you escalate it for some reason and do something silly, and the behaviour, which would be to drink on it, and then perhaps end up at A&E, yeah? Through your own free will, self-will. So I'm just asking you to kind of sit with those thoughts and those feelings, which are emotional effect that we drink on, the triggers. Because one thing will guarantee your powerlessness is to repeat the same behaviour and expecting a different outcome. Also known as the Pygmalion effect, in cognitive behavioural therapy we call it a self-fulfilling prophecy. That kind of explains it, doing the same thing and expecting a different result. Being angry and wondering why people are angry back at us. And we talked about the allergy, you know, if you tried a prawn or you got some sort of resistance to peanuts or anything like that for the first time and you became violently ill, would you spend the rest of your life trying different ways to eat prawns without throwing up your guts? You'd probably soon realise that prawns don't agree with you. But now can you identify, when we were saying, well, you've got that physical, medical effect, but then you've got that mental obsession, or the mental illness that tells you it's all right to have a drink. Your own free will take you there. This time it will be different. Or I haven't had a drink for a week or a month, I'll just have one or two. Or I'll put some milk in it. Yeah? Or I'll drop a rum in my coffee or my tea, or just a bit of Baileys. Or some sherry in the trifle. Or pick up some cough mixture and then realise that you've set off the allergy, which you should have realised before. And the next thing you know, you're down the shop and buying more. So it's these sort of things that we're asking you to be aware of. But if you are powerless and your own self-will is causing you harm, then, you know, you've got to sort of think, well, what defence is there against it? And this is what we're going to talk about today, isn't it?
Yeah, we're going to talk about, you know, the different ways of controlling our drinking. And, you know, the first one is, you know, if you're powerless, then you need a power against that first drink, because what Kelly was saying was the fact is that we've given up drink 100 times, maybe I don't know, you know, how many times you've given it up, but it always goes back to it, so you're basically insane. Not in all aspects of your life, just around drinking. You cannot see it. What does insanity mean? It just means you just can't see the truth about something. You're not quite whole. It doesn't mean to say you're running around Tesco's in your underwear with a machete or something.
Which you might be if you carry on, no?
Well, you might not. But what I'm trying to get at is that the subtle, the insidious insanity of alcoholism is that first drink. To practice that is to say, the mind tells you, you can have one. One, you've been a good boy or you've been a good girl. I'll be alright this time.
Yeah, it's not always something that's terrible, it could be a reward.
You've learnt your lesson and you've done your penance of 6 months,
Whatever
a year,
you've set
3 years, yeah.
Whatever you've set your time limit is, so we need a defence. So that's why we're going to talk about another source of power. So your alcohol has been our power. We've been running on self-will and fuelled by alcohol or drugs. Yeah? So we've become negative in our outlook and approach to life because we're running on fear, jealousy, anger, frustration, envy, all that stuff.
Emotional stuff.
Yeah? And they're all negative.
Negative emotions, which we've spoken about.
They're all negative emotions and they drain a lot of energy. You lose a lot of power running on those things because it's a total waste of energy. Yeah?
Worrying, stress.
So what happens is you have to fill that energy gap, don't you? And the only thing you can think of is a drink. Because alcohol physically does lift you up. Well, it does to us anyway. It gives us that boost, that right, I'll have another go, I'll win this time, I'll do it this time, I'm okay. Yeah? But now it doesn't work. Whatever the reason, we've stepped over the line, whatever you want to call it, it doesn't work anymore. So we need to find a new solution. So we need to consider something else, another way, another power, a higher power.
Because I'm sure all of you here, we've said it, you've probably tried to stop drinking before, and you've probably promised, close members, partners and family. You've probably even, been to the court or even to the others said, right, that's it, I'm not doing it again, my word of honour, that's it, I've had enough of alcohol. And then you find yourself a few days later or a few weeks later or even a year later doing it again. You think, what's the sense of that?
But the thing is, we're considering another way, another power, a higher power, God if you like. So you have to say, a lot of people say, oh no, I don't want to believe in God, or I don't think He can help me, or she, or whatever you want to call it. But the real questions you've got to ask yourself are, what is your perception of God? What is your perception of a higher power?
Do you know the word?
Yeah? You might have some old ideas from when you were young, some old ideas that were forced on you.
Somebody told you something about God?
You know?
Something you read in a book? Somewhere you went once? Or your parents?
I mean, you've got to do it. Where I started from was, what does it actually mean to me? So I had to look at that. What does God mean? What does a higher power mean to me? And I had like these childish ideas when I rejected the idea. Because as a kid I believed in God because I was told to, and it made sense. But for one thing or another, I used to pray and I started not getting the things I wanted, or my life didn't start working out right, so I stopped believing in it. Yeah? Because I was praying to some sort of Father Christmas type God. So I wanted instant things.
And some people don't believe in even the existence of such a thing. I mean, there's an explanation for what God exists for in the dictionary. So if you're sort of saying, well, it doesn't exist, well, it does exist as a word. And that's what we're asking you to actually you know, be conscious of. What's your perception of the word God? Like, what's your perception of the word fear?
Difference between God and religion as well.
Mm. We're not saying...
In certain aspects, you know, of different religions, there's only one God. And that serves as a way to how you choose to believe in the teachings is down to you.
Absolutely.
As you all know, the events of the last couple of days, it's nothing to do with God. You know, people were saying,
Well, that's free will.
They can't be a God because, you know, look what's happened. But that's just the teachings of some religions. God is something totally different.
Well, we have to separate society from God's will, yeah? Because what society is people, is man's will.
Yeah.
That's a human condition.
And different religions to worship.
Yeah.
It's just a, you know, again, it's just a method.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So
Yeah, it's just
the
the
concept of, and what we have to do is, we don't have to give it a big platform. We just have to say, well, I only need it for now just to solve my drink problem or my drug problem. Yeah?
Yeah, but sorry, as you know about the last couple of days, like, I don't know, Buddhism, whatever they was, they believed in their God, and that was right, as been told to do it. So they think they're right, we can't kill that man.
Mm.
So they believe in their God, but they probably get done with murder.
Mm.
Well, why? Because they believed in the God, so...
Yeah, it wasn't God.
No,
that
John
was,
Taylor.
yeah, but that was the teachings. That was